Alright guys, I'm going to give this an attempt because I've never actually gotten to install one of these before. So, I bought a Fass 165, told you guys I was going to do it. And we're going to get this thing installed. None of this was sponsored, none of this was discounted. Everything I have bought has been full price because I didn't want to wait for things to go on discount. So, oh boy, there's a thingy on there. So we're gonna pull everything off, set everything kind of nicely on the ground on this box here. And I'm gonna go ahead and give it an attempt at installing this thing. Now, the only thing, once the injectors come and are installed, oh boy, there's a whole thing under here. Once the injectors come and are installed, the only thing that will be stopping us from making over 600 will be the transmission. Now, I did buy injectors specifically for my horsepower goal. I do not want to try to make over 600 horsepower ever. I understand that I have the fueling. I understand that I could go with a little bit bigger of an injector. I'm going to try to tame it and just get a 650 horsepower transmission. Once this one does grenade, of course. So, damn, they put that whole thing upside down. There we go. Now, just so you guys know, 165, and I did buy their no drop kit. So this was $800. Ugh. So, no drop kit means don't gotta drop the tank, don't gotta do none of that. Comes with a nice billet sump. Comes with all of the wiring. Comes with hose, because you can never get enough hose. And then, looks like it comes with, oh, that's a register, so there's a warranty thing. Not sure we'll ever need that, hopefully. And then, there should be directions somewhere, and then all this stuff. So, we'll go ahead and throw that out. And start setting things up nicely. We are not going to do the sump tonight, and I'm going to try to do as much of this as possible tonight. I don't know how long I'm going to be here, but I have a full tank and I don't have enough buckets to catch it. So the plan is to install it, and then I'll do the sump later and just dump all the excess fuel into the big tank. If we can find the directions, scan me. I don't need no DPF stuff. Yeah, so fast fuel systems. This will be the first time I've ever used them. And honestly, if I was going to keep a stock truck or like sub 500 horse, I probably would have just kept the stock in tank pump. But we're not going to do that. That's no fun. All right, so right off the bat, we're having problems. You can't scan this. It is not scanning. I've tried 2 different phones, and I got on their site, matched this number right here, and every time I try to go download it, it says not found. So that's a problem. I want to make sure I install this correctly. I also do like that this has a 90 coming off of it. Figure that out. I'll probably go online and look at some pictures and just install it and figure it out for myself. The only thing is the wiring, but that's probably not all that bad because wiring is my strong suit anyway. One end's going to go up to the truck, I guess, and I mean, we'll figure it out as we get there, right? That looks like a Dodge plug. Guess we'll see. So I went on there and just found the other product where it was different fittings and whatnot. So I'm doing that. Now, I have this up here. This is from our battery in the back. That comes to here. And then I've given myself plenty of distance right here to where it can be positive and negative. Now, I'm super picky on wiring. I don't want just any clusterfuck. So if you guys know, I ran this battery all the way from the back to the other, this wire all the way to the other battery. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Fass harness and I'm just going to follow that. Now, unfortunately, they make it so that you have to mount the relay way out of the way. So the relay is going to be mounted right here. That's a factory hole. That is a self-tapper with a nut on the back. So I'm going to go under the truck now and follow. You guys will see it right there. I'm going to follow that entire harness and just start zip tying it to that and follow it the whole way to the back. Now, pretty much what they were saying is this is going to go to the factory fuel pump. I'm not sure why there's, oh, so one of the, yeah, okay, that makes sense. This goes to the Fass. These two will go piggyback to the factory fuel pump. So I'm gonna try to use as much wiring as possible. That way I don't have any just laying around, but I'm gonna make it look as factory as possible. I do not like extra wiring. I am going to be getting rid of any of the fuel feed from the tank, and if I need to, I'm also going to get rid of the fuel return as well. So if for some reason both of them get used, I haven't gotten that far in the directions, I will get rid of the factory fuel lines because I don't like random stuff lying around, and this is the best time to do stuff while the engine's out. So like I was saying with these transmission lines, we're going to be going over them as well. So don't think I forgot about them, I just haven't gotten to it yet. So, and then there's also a nice fuse box here. So if anything ever happens, blows the fuse. So I haven't cut anything yet. You guys will see. This comes up and over, follows all the way up, looks factory, comes through up there where the other wire's at, follows that wire through, meets it up over here for one last zip tie to kind of secure it, and then now we're just following up to the top of the tank, and this is what we left. And I actually found more zip ties. I'm literally out of zip ties, and I just found, I don't know what I ordered that came with a shitload, but I gotta order more zip ties. So I'm gonna get that wired up, and then wherever this lands will probably determine where we're gonna put the Fass itself, because that's what this line is here. So let's see. All right, so we got it installed. I don't have the end wired where I want it yet because there's a lot of excess. So I got to figure out where the pump's going to end, and then I'll tidy up the last little bit. I got a little excited with the zip ties on the last half. I shouldn't have zip tied anything back here. So I'll probably just take a pick in there and unzip tie them to re-zip tie them. But I got plenty to finish the job, so it's not really a big deal. So now let's go over to the instructions and figure out the last little bit. And I know I've said it before, guys, but I am super picky with how I install my wiring and how everything is done. And I still actively to this day rip random things out, like the inverter that I have down there. I've just ripped out all the wiring for that. I'll probably at some point rip out all the wiring for the gauges and redo all that. But little things like that. And then this, I shouldn't have popped that in there yet, so I gotta plug those in. But like, still actively doing that. It doesn't matter who wires your truck, whether Fire Punk does it or Fass does it or any of that. If you have a theme for your truck, like where everything is specifically supposed to go, it's not their responsibility to know that. So if you can safely wire your own truck, I recommend it. So I went against Fass's instructions a little bit. I didn't put these tight, but I mounted this whole thing up first before I put the fittings in because I needed to know what was going to go where. So I got under here and we're working on it. I got to tighten up these four, and then I'm going to put a bracket that holds the positive and negative here so that way it doesn't rub on this. But they make you mount it up in there, which is pretty cool. Now I don't know why they put this thing up here because it doesn't stay. But besides that, I mean, I didn't swear during this install, which is a first for me because usually I'm always swearing at something. But if I can just get that level, tighten those up, that's 15, that's 14 on the other side. Tighten that up, put them out there so that way those are good, or put something around it, either or, rather just make a grommet. And then I'll tighten these up in exactly this position. This is gonna kind of sit just like that, and then this one kind of like that. So I'll get these tightened up now. You do not want to tighten these by holding up the top. Do not do that. You'll regret that. All right, guys, this is why you keep a bolt pin. So I just dumped it. I knew I had an extra one of these. Now, Fass gives you a bunch of straights, and I don't like that. It's the only gripe I have with this. So you can see how this one's a 90 and down, and I was able to get one more. I would like 2 of them. I don't want it coming straight out and then having to finagle it. And I've seen all the installs. I don't like that. I'd rather it this way. and I'm good with that. But I knew I had an extra one somewhere. I just knew it, and I knew exactly what bin it was in, and this is why you keep extra shit. Quite happy, actually. I got a bunch of random, I gotta go through these bins at some point. Bunch of tappets, head bolts. This is what I was looking for. Yeah. That's exactly what I was looking for. Oh, now I gotta find a nut and a bolt for it. So she is installed. Now I just need to go through, tidy up the wiring, put it where I want it, and then figure out if it's a feed and a return, and figure out where the return's gonna come in, because if it just goes to the factory tank, I'm gonna pull the feed out up here. But hopefully it just gets rid of both of them, but actually, no. I think we're gonna have to keep the return side. So this feed line, I'm gonna pull this whole thing out. This one's the feed here. Hopefully I didn't, oh, I did zip tie it. Okay, cool. So yeah, I'm gonna pull this out all the way from the back of the truck. That's gonna come the whole way out, and then I wanna redo this wire here. That's my lockup switch. I wanna redo that, loom it, make it look all nice and pretty, but that's not what this video is about. So let's, I did also put red Loctite on everything so it doesn't come loose. So now we just need to run our lines. And also, on top of running the lines, I need to go tomorrow and get some buckets, or today technically. So that way we can drain the tank, because I am 99% sure that it is a full fucking tank. I was not expecting to do a Fass, but I told you guys I was gonna do it, and if I mention it in the videos, that's the reason I've been mentioning things. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna do this. It holds me accountable, because if I said I was gonna do a Fass and I just threw it back together without a Fass, you guys would bitch about it, and that's what I want. So that's why I did it. All right, so disregard a few things that I said last night. I'll actually probably just cut some of that stuff out, because you guys don't need to hear it. So I'm down here. Now, these are only temporarily on here. I gotta wait until the truck has power. They say to run this thing with nothing on it and spray a liberal amount of penetrating oil in there and run it. I did have to take one of the 90s off. One of these is gonna be a straight going some sort of direction, but it's pretty much where I want it, and I was able to get a loopy thing on those lines there. So now, I was reading the instructions, and I'm not good at this. It's not their fault. I wish that, I understand the straights make sense. I just wish that we had more options, like 45s and 90s and this and that. So we got a 90 here, and this is gonna go straight down to the truck. Now, the problem is I have a fuel pressure gauge that goes in that exact spot right here. Okay, it would banjo fitting into that. And this was the line it was going to go into. So that's not going to happen. I do have somewhere in the bin over there. I got to find it. So what I'll probably do, I'll run this about somewhere in here, and I'll just end up moving the pressure sensor somewhere, and I'll just put it in the line. So we'll have like an inch or 3 of line, and then this guy will sit in there, and then it'll be these on both sides. So I'm going to go dig through the bucket and try to find that. And we're getting there. I'm going to have the line ran to where, actually, I don't know if we're going to do the line, but I would like to at least get the other stuff off. And then we'll get to install this absolute masterpiece right here. I think Fass did a pretty good job on this. So, good company. It's just my first time installing one of these. So if you guys hear me bitching about something, it's not their fault. It's just my first time doing it. I dumped it out, and it is the factory size and not the size we actually need. So gonna have to get one of those on order and figure out where to put this thing. But I'm gonna go kill that cricket real quick, and we're gonna get back to work. So I'm not in a rush to do this, because I gotta go do something else next once I get this line routed. But I did get this. I held it up. We got everything mocked where I'm gonna want it. And that's going to sit right around there. I didn't even realize I could also turn this. I should have made them a little shorter, but rather be too short than too long. Or I was going to have them come out like that. That would work too. Really doesn't matter. So that's the feed, 90. And that's the return. And then I got a straight coming off this, and I need to figure out which way I would like to route it. I probably want to follow that routing. But besides that, and I'm pretty sure we do still keep, yeah, well actually I do know. We do keep the return. So this line right here would stay. This line is gonna go. Probably not gonna do that right now, but I'll probably end up finding a spot to cut it so I can just pull the whole line out. Everything nice and loomed through. I just gotta cut these yet. The relay mounted here. And I'm gonna do a lot of this stuff while the engine's out. I also need to swap this plug out for this guy and then figure out where we wanna put the fuel, for the sensor for the fuel. And I'm thinking like right in here, but I think we get the head on first. We mount this stuff up. There's the factory return right there. And other than that, I mean, we're getting there. The head's already, I think I have another video on that. So like these videos are gonna be kind of like all over the place, but the Fass is installed and I am gonna go get the bigger filters because while I'm on the road, I would just rather have the protection of bigger filters, either cat or whatever. Also, I mean, if you buy a Fass, obviously if I spent 830 bucks on this, you do want to see them a little bit. I will, once this is down and level, I'll probably go and adjust those hangers a little bit more because I think at this point we are facing, I think it's a little bit like this, so we need to bring that down. So not a big deal. It's kind of hard to see up there. This is at an angle, so I kind of leveled it to the ground and yeah, it's level to the ground. So that's just 4 nuts and 4 bolts. So get this routed and then we can get under here and start taking lines off. I think it's this one right here. So go the whole way down, get rid of that. It is going to be a pain in the ass, but probably cut it. And yeah, once I get some buckets though, I'll be able to drain this. But well guys, we have a Fass. And honestly, the only thing that I would have asked them different is I feel like this one should be a 90. They come out straight and then loop back down, and I already think these lines are too long as is. But that new design up there on the bed, that is awesome. No more sandwich plate on the frame, any of that. And then if you want to take it down and maintenance it, all you got to do is undo that bolt. That's pretty sweet. I think they did a great job on this kit. I get that it's expensive. I've had other people say, hey, I would love a Fass, but they're super expensive. But so are AirDog. In my opinion, they do make some bold claims. Now, they did say about the mileage, but they said they can't guarantee it because if you have the extra power, you're going to use it. So you wouldn't see that mileage. That's a completely fair. But I've been following Jake. Love his build with the Mega Cab, the 800 horsepower Mega Cab. And I've been slowly, you know, just following their content a little bit more and more. They seem like awesome people. And, you know, their customer service is pretty decent. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say, obviously, if I were to keep this truck stock, I was never going to do a Fass. I was never going to do one. The claims that they make, and with how expensive the new injectors are, I think this thing will pay itself off. I do run my tanks super, super low. So I really do think that this is going to pay off. And, I mean, we'll see. Let me know what you guys think. We're still waiting. I'm going to give you guys a little quick update here. All we are waiting on is the head gasket and the head itself. Once the head is in and all that, I can start putting this entire engine back together. The fleece coolant bypass is in. Everything is together. And then once it's up in the air, we will swap out this oil pan. But this beauty back here. So this will sit right around here. And actually, I sent them the fittings. So hopefully they throw all my stuff in the bags. But we are so close to getting this motor in, and I get that I could slap it in this way, but I want everything together off of the truck. And then once it's, you know, once it's all together, we can throw it in the truck. So we're getting close, and then we are 100% going to Fire Punk. You can see, I don't care. A lot of people talk shit. I spent a lot of money on this. Just make sure it's done right. I bought an intake tube, and we're going to use the factory intake off of the 6.7. From what I did my research on, looking at the compound kits that Diesel Power Source offers, they offer compound kits that are good for 700-800 horsepower. I understand like that's going to be a restriction at that amount, but they utilize this on their compound kits. So I'm perfectly fine with keeping that. We got this all painted up. We got a rail plug in here. I just got to torque some of this stuff down. Everything's nice and painted. And we're slowly getting there. I just got to paint that guy and that guy. But other than that, it's coming together. We still got to find a bumper. I got to go pick up my tires. Unless somebody wants to buy these things. If you want the tires, if you don't, let me know. I'm going to get rid of those. And just all in all, I'm not going through and doing everything this time because I am into this venture about 11 grand. It's just one of those like that I really want to install those control arms and the springs, but like it's just I really just want to drive my truck again, so I'm kind of getting antsy. And then once the engine's in, I can finish up in here. What we're gonna do, this is gonna come later, so I'm just gonna set this aside. I might install it, but I'm gonna set this aside for now. We have a positive and a negative for the inverter. I'm gonna run the ground literally to the ground, and then I'm going to run the positive up to the battery instead of running a positive and negative all the way up to the battery, so it'll just be a single one. You know, less complication, just going over wiring, making everything perfect. If you guys could see here, like things like the block heater, look how nice and loomed that is. That comes all the way up in the factory location, and then I can unplug the clip right here in case I want to just take off that section there and put it on a new bumper, because I've been on a kick of buying bumpers. This is installed, that's cut, and there's nothing here now, so this whole side is done. All of the liner is taken off. I just got to go through, finish up the lockup switch, and then occasionally this gauges and wiring and that stuff. We'll go over that at some point, but it's coming together pretty good. And we're not going to do a billet torque converter yet because I do plan on grenading this trans and going with a 650 horsepower trans. So that would be the plan there. And I don't want to buy a torque converter twice. So it's one of those, like, this is the real world. This is a lot of money. And this month I have literally, I think I've done like 3 or 4 jobs this month for other customers. That is it. So I think all said and done, I know I'll make my money back on all of this with the content and this and that, but this is expensive, and this is the real world. This isn't unlimited money, unlimited budget. This, I did the best I could with the budget I had. I said I wanted to keep it around 10 grand. I went over a little bit. It's not a big deal. So that's where we're at. And then once this truck is back on the road, I think in the coming months, I am going to stop living comfortable now that I've gotten rid of all the debt. I told you guys I was living comfortably, and I was just kind of chilling, But after this was the push that I needed to finally go out and take a risk. So I have 3 different risks I want to take with expanding in here, and I haven't decided which one I'm going to do yet, but if you follow my Facebook, you guys probably have an idea. So I'm going to go ahead, get this thing pulled out. We got to bring in a customer truck. That's coming in. I got to finish that up. And if anybody needs hoods, please somebody come and buy these hoods. I have 4 of them laying around, and I don't need them. So hope you guys enjoyed. Berthonomus, we're getting there, slow and steady. Also, going through and drilling this out. I got to notch this whole thing to use the factory sensor. I've already drilled this out, so we're just going to put the factory sensor right there. So that way I don't have to use one of the intake plenums. I can just get a blank one and throw this on.